Welcome to the Reclaim Inner Peace Summit. This is Shivani, your host, and I have with me Peggy Nolan. Now, Peggy is a very accomplished author. She co-authored 4 international bestsellers. She's also a teacher, and she loves to move people and groove. And she also has a podcast, very wildly popular podcast. I'm stumbling over my words, but
That's
that's
okay. We're
okay.
good. We're good.
Exactly. So welcome.
Welcome. Thank you so much for having me, Shivani.
Ah, look, it's my pleasure. Seriously. So tell me a little bit, first of all, maybe tell me the name of your podcast, because that's been really, really
Absolutely.
successful. And then I'll go
Yeah,
into, tell me a little bit how you started it all.
sure. The podcast is Let Go Move Forward, and it's available through Podbean, iTunes, and Stitcher. And basically, we talk about things that we can let go of so that we can move forward. So my guests between having my guests and my own little solo mini episodes that I do, it's all based around the theme of things that we can release that no longer serve us. And a lot of it is thought based. The things that we think are true, maybe not true, and how we can release old beliefs so that we can live a more vibrant, happier life. Because sometimes we're just so stuck
Mm,
in old patterns of behavior. And that's really keeping us from living the life that we think we want, that we know we want, that we may see other people living and we go, oh, I really want that.
mm,
But
mm.
because of just of, the way we were raised, the things that other people told us, or that we're trapped in, overthinking, analysis paralysis, how do you break free from that? So that's
Yeah.
really a lot about what Let Go Move Forward is all about.
Wow, that's a really big service to your listeners, isn't it? To have something like a community that actually really wants to grow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And since that's
Mm,
one of my passions is to really help people grow and develop themselves to their fullest potential, being
mm,
able to have this podcast and not only just to be able to have amazing guests as well to share their message, because I believe that we learn from other people's stories. And if we can connect, not everybody's going to connect with my story, but maybe they'll connect with the story of a guest,
mm, mm,
And
mm,
so that to me is really important to
mm.
have all these different voices
Yeah,
on my podcast.
yeah. And I think it also gives hope, because if you've done it, if I've done it, if your guests have done it,
Abs-
everybody else can do it.
Absolutely.
You know, yes, it takes time and some effort, but I really believe it is now time on the planet to go for what you really want and to integrate who you are and to shine your gift.
Absolutely. And the more we can share our stories of struggle and the triumph over the struggle, the
Mm,
victory at the end of the day, right? That we can show that, that my story and my happily ever after didn't happen, just like that. Nobody sprinkled magic fairy dust on me and said, poof, you're all better now.
yeah,
It was
that
a
would be
process.
nice, wouldn't
It would, oh, if
it?
I could do that for people, oh my gosh,
Yeah, I
right? And
know.
I always tell people there is no magic fairy wand.
No.
There's a lot of inner work and the releasing of old behaviors, and a lot of times it just takes time and it takes a process
Mm,
and
mm,
consistent effort
mm,
to do it.
mm, mm.
So, yeah,
But it can also, I think it can be, it doesn't have to be really painful and horrible.
no,
It can also, I think it can be really exhilarating.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I teach people, Shivani, is I tell them that, you don't have to take these great leaps into the uncomfortableness, right?
Mm,
You can take small baby steps
mm,
and leave your comfort zone, always knowing that it's right there behind you, but you
mm,
can take small steps into the unknown, into the uncertainty.
mm.
And the more times you go out and practice, the easier it gets. It's only super scary the first time, and then the
Actually,
second
yeah,
time the
yeah.
second time you go into the unknown, it's a little bit better, and the third time you go,
Mm,
oh, okay, I think I can do this. Oh, it's really not so bad.
mm.
I haven't fallen apart. Nobody's said boo to me. Nobody's made fun of me. Nobody's laughed at me. I think I can keep going on.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
just small baby
yeah.
steps, and nobody has to dive in head first.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And it's the most important thing is to take the very first step. And I think
Absolutely.
once you've actually put your hand up to the universe, hey, I want change, I want to grow, you're actually really supported.
Very much so. There's all kinds of soft landings.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about you, because I believe you've been through quite some harrowing times before you changed direction.
I did. I needed that cosmic 2x4. I needed to be, upside my
Yeah.
head a few times. I was that person who was living on autopilot. I was living a life that was really based on a lot of other people's expectations and my own thinking that that's what other people expected me to do, or that's just what you do because that's.
Yeah.
I just was living in the world of expectations, and. My story is the story of many other people. I went through a really shitty divorce. Excuse me. It was bad. It wasn't. It wasn't.
That's fine. It was shitty.
And
I hear you.
um, and 5 months after my divorce was final, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I kind of got the double whammy. I got the double 2x4.
Yeah.
Because you would think that I would get the message with the first one, and the first one was a huge growing experience, more of being cracked wide open and felt like I had been split apart into smithereens because I got married when I was 19. So I went from, living at home, I joined the military, met my husband, got married. I was 19.
Yeah.
I was married to him until I was 39. So my whole adult life kind of revolved around this person, and my kids and my family and my job. And at some point, it just didn't revolve around all the right things at the same time. So I just felt like I was being cracked wide open. And then 5 months after the divorce was final, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, which I actually think was the realization of all the things that I was not living my life in a healthy manner. A lot of stress, all that kind of stuff. So, and that's how it manifested in my body. So that was the wake up call for me to be very aware of my body and the signs that my body will tell me, because our body gives us signs to tell us this is good for you, this is not good for you. Right. And I spent a lot of time ignoring the signs of this is not good for you. And I think a lot of people do that, to be honest with you.
So can you tell me what sort of signs did you ignore?
Well, most of it was stress related. I ignored warning signs in the relationship. I ignored, I took on too much responsibility for other people's actions. Like I thought it was my fault. So I would be, trying to fix something that I didn't really know what it was I was trying to fix. But there I was, hip deep in the mud trying to fix something, and that at the when I look back, it was like this wasn't mine to fix, right? So why was I trying to do it? But I was that person who ate stress for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Okay.
And I didn't realize the level of stress I was living with until the diagnosis, and I realized I had to live life differently.
So you didn't get insomnia, or you didn't have a fist in your stomach, or did nothing like that manifest for you?
No, actually, those were huge signs. Although because it happened so long ago. It's now been over 12 years since I had breast cancer. But yes, the knot in the stomach, and I always called it a fireball. I mean, it just wouldn't go away. I'd wake up with it in the morning, and it was that very anxious feeling. Insomnia. I didn't get a lot of sleep. The other one, and this is the first sign, and this is the sign that I always pay attention to. Right underneath my left eye, it starts to twitch, and I'm like, oh, that's the first sign.
Okay.
There's a little twitch in my life. That's sign number one. It will start to twitch. Absolutely.
Yeah. So really the message is, and I understand, look, you're like millions of women out there that just believe I have to keep going, I'm okay, I'm superwoman, but you're not.
Exactly.
So the message is really, you will have your own bodily signs, and when that happens, continuously, you need to stop and examine.
Absolutely. You need to stop. You need to press pause. You need to take care of yourself. I mean, that's my big message these days, which is, you have to take care of yourself, because if you're not taking care of you first, you're going to deplete your energy. You're going to be pouring from an empty cup. And when you pour from an empty cup, all you're giving is nothing. You give nothing.
Yeah.
Because you've been depleted. So you have to fill your cup first, fill your gas tank, fill whatever it is that makes your soul sing and your heart happy. You have to take care of that. And a lot of people think that that takes a lot of money or a lot of time, or they'll say, what do you mean by doing that? I'll be looked at. I'm selfish. I'm self-centered. You're not supposed. Moms aren't supposed to do that. That's the big one for moms. Moms aren't supposed to do sorts of things like that. So yeah.
No, I totally agree, because I always tell my clients it's self-full. Like you mentioned before, you're filling up your own tank. And also, it's a good analogy. When you fly, the message is put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you help somebody else. And that's really how it works. And if you ignore that for a very long time, you will get sick. Simple as that.
You do get. It is simple as that. And a lot of people, and it's not like everybody's going to get diagnosed with cancer, but you could end up going to your doctor because you have insomnia and you're not sleeping well. And we all know that if you're not sleeping well, you're going to end up being more stressed out, because you haven't fully, your body's not restoring itself. And that's what sleep does for us, right? And anytime we allow any way for chronic stress to come in, we all have short-term stressors, whether it's a deadline or an argument. Those are short-term stressors, but I'm really talking about the long-term chronic stress. The stress weakens your immune system. And if your immune system is not working effectively and efficiently, you will get sick. It's plain and simple. You will get sick.
No, I agree. And I think hopefully people that listen will recognize that they don't have to get sick.
Right. They, and it's so easy. Sometimes it takes as little as 5 minutes to fill yourself up. 5 minutes of being in silence or in meditation, or take a 10-minute walk around your neighborhood. Coloring is a great thing to do these days, right? All those adult coloring books, they're selling like wildfire. And it's fun because it's focused relaxation.
And it switches on in the other part of the brain,
Yes.
I think
it's very relaxing.
Absolutely. So tell me, what exactly do you do with your clients? So how do you help them? How do you work with them?
Well, a lot of them come to me through my weekend yoga classes that I teach, and so it's an in-person way. So I'm really a lot of local people will come to me, which is great. Other people find me in through other avenues, like through my books, through Let Go Move Forward, the podcast. They'll email me. A lot of it's just one-on-one, super quick coaching types of things. How do I want to say this? I'm not the hand holder coach. I can't do your mental push-ups for you. So usually I leave them with some direction, and if they ask me for a recommendation, usually I have a list of 10 that I can go to right away. But easy peasy steps. And if I hear certain key phrases that they're saying to me over the phone or in person, I'll call a timeout. Like when I hear, well, I can't do that. I'm like, excuse me. If you say you can't, you never will. But yet you're telling me this is what you want. But then you say, I can't do X, Y, and Z, or don't know how to do this. And I'm like, so why are you letting how stop you from getting what you want? You have to be clear about what you want. So I'm kind of a no bullshitter.
Yeah, no, good. I like it.
I
love it. It's called tough love, I think.
Yeah, it's really it's my personality. I do it with a sense of humor. I do it with kindness and compassion, but literally I can't do your push-ups for you. You got to do it yourself. You got to do your own work. And part of it starts with how we think and how we talk to ourselves. And so usually that's their first assignment. You need to, spend time in awareness. And literally, I want you to write down every time, take just a checkbox. Every time you say to yourself, I can't, I should, I would never, that's too hard, I don't know how to do this. I want you, write all that stuff down. Just check it off. How often are you saying that to yourself? Because that's what's stopping you.
Absolutely. And it's fear-based, isn't it? And also you make yourself the victim.
Yes.
You're in victimhood.
Anytime you say, I can't, you're literally putting yourself in the victim mode with I can't. When you say, I have to, you're putting yourself also in the victim mode, because when you say I have to, somebody else is in the driver's seat of what you're doing because you feel obligated.
Yeah.
And a very quick exercise, Shivani, is very easily, I have to go to work tomorrow. Or I get to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's huge difference in what happens in your own body when you say I have to versus I get to. I choose to. That's another one. But I always say I have to or I get to.
No, I totally get it. It's a reframe, but really, really powerful.
It's a powerful reframe.
Absolutely.
And once I learned that, I was like, I get to do so much. I don't have to do it.
I can do anything I want.
I can do anything. I get to do anything I want because I don't have to do anything. That's the beauty of this. So.
And tell me a little bit, because I know we are all afraid in various nuances. What is the language of fear? How would it come up in your clients?
Right. The language of fear shows up differently for different people. Self-doubt is one of the languages of fear, the I can't do this, or I don't know how to do this. And once you allow I don't know how to do this to play with what your dream is or your idea is, forget it. It's going to stomp all over it. So you have to be aware of how self-doubt is just a disguise of fear. Perfectionism is a huge disguise of fear. And I always tell people that perfectionism comes in dressed up to the nines, perfect makeup, perfect hair, high heels. Perfectionism is so well put together. But perfectionism is just fear in fancy clothes. That's all it is. And perfectionism tells us that if you can't do it well or perfect right out of the gate, don't even bother.
Yeah.
Don't. Because you're going to make a fool out of yourself. And if you can't look as good as me, don't do it.
Yeah.
And perfectionism is, I think, a huge issue for women. I don't know how it is for guys, but I know in my circles, I come up with it all the time. Women talk to me about it all the time, and I'm sure they do with you. The second biggest one that I see is people who are people pleasers. Needing the approval of somebody else. That's just fear saying you shouldn't do that because your mother, your father, your teacher, you whoever from your past, they wouldn't like that. You're gonna, and it all comes back down to you're going to make an idiot of yourself. You need somebody's approval to go and take off with this crazy idea that you have that you want to build, I don't know, pink polka dotted houses in the forest, right? You don't need anybody's approval. You don't need to go and please anybody. That's the idea. You go do it.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think underneath all that, there's also the I'm unlovable and I'm not good enough. If I show up who I am, really, I won't have any friends, I won't have a job, I won't have anything.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's really, I know you know this book, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. He says that all the fears really are encapsulated in the one big fear of the fear of rejection. And that's what it all comes down to, which is if I go and do this, everybody's going to hate me and they're all going to leave and nobody's going to love me and they're going to go, oh my God. And that's just not true.
No, I totally agree. But how do you start with your clients? What would be one of the first steps? Because that's, as you said, it's a very real fear. They probably lived it for 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Or longer, yes.
A lot of it is the tapes that we have running in our head, and we're thinking all the time. Our brain is always on, even when we're sleeping. It's on. It's always thinking, and it's always replaying all of these tapes. So you really have to just be aware of your language. What are you saying to yourself? Because that's you and your fears colluding up together in your head. But it's really, I tell people, one of the first things I say is, if your fear tells you don't do that, simply stop and go, why not? Your fear has no second comeback.
Yeah.
It doesn't have another line. And the thing is that when I started playing around with this, it's true. It doesn't have another line. It just kind of goes, I don't know. It doesn't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't have, when you ask it, well, why not? What's to be afraid of? And I just found that a very liberating and funny exercise, actually, because I ended up laughing because I could hear nothing. Yeah. There was no comeback.
Yeah. I think that's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just no comeback. It's a one-line argument. And too often we just pay attention to the one line, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that I tell people is that, to me, it's absolutely ridiculous to tell your fear to be quiet and go away and never come back. We're hardwired for fear.
Absolutely, yeah.
We are. It's not going to go away. So I decided that I was going to partner with my fear, that my fear was going to become my ally. And I wasn't going to try to ignore it or stuff it or repress it or put it in a room and, ground it to the corner and, take the key with me. That just makes it scream louder at you, to be honest with you. It just makes it mushroom even bigger. So I've decided that because fear stays with me every day, it hits me every time I start to write something new. It'll go, oh, somebody already wrote that, why bother? Because that's the line I hear. Honest to God, that's what I hear all the time. Somebody already wrote about that. You don't need to. And then I say, but nobody's written about it from my point of view.
And in your words.
And right, nobody's, okay, fine. And it has no comeback for me after that. And so I say, hey, look, why don't you come on in? You can see what I'm writing. We're good. You can even edit if you want after I finish writing my first draft. And this is a great thing that Anne Lamott in Bird by Bird, she writes about the shitty first draft. That when you make peace, when you kind of, make your fear of whatever the fear factor is, of whatever you're creating or whatever your idea is, when you make it your ally, one of my things I tell it is, it's just practice. We're practicing. And fear's okay with practicing. So it's kind of like bribing. Yeah. I'm bribing. I'm like giving it candy or something. I'm like, we're just practicing.
I think what I'm also hearing is that because look, I so agree. I know fear is just part and parcel of our life.
Yes.
The more we push it away, the bigger it will get. And what I've also learned is if I can actually do the action, it's for me do it anyway, do the action. And then fear is like, okay, you survived it, you're okay. Yes. What are you talking about, Yeah. And obviously the more you practice, then it's integrated.
Right.
Yeah,
and absolutely.
I know I have a teacher, and she always, like in a business way, when she up-leveled, right, or she tried something different and new, and she knew she wanted to create more income, she talked about fear storms. And she said now she's wildly successful, and so she's been through it for a number of years. And now when a fear storm comes, she just goes, okay, bring it on. I'm up to something really good. This is going to be really good. Because she knows she's coming out the other end,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we just have to get past the I can'ts, the I shouldn'ts, the, I have to's, because that's language that we use. That's all fear-based language. It's victim language.
Absolutely.
So.
Yes. That's wonderful, because that's an easy way of becoming aware of, okay, what's happening in your headquarters.
Absolutely. check
and
in,
so
be
that
aware.
really we create and we manifest.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me a little bit about your gift that you've so generously decided to give to our listeners.
Oh, yes. Well, for those of you who are, still stuck with perfectionism and people pleasing and self-doubt, my free gift is a guidebook and an audio. It's called How to Make Peace with Your Fear and Tame Your Inner Mean Girl. And the audio is a 7-minute meditation that will guide you through that whole peace offering with your inner mean girl, and to really have your inner mean girl become your inner nice girl, your kind girl, somebody that you can partner with and be an ally with. So through that meditation, there's just some wonderful imagery of, the peace offerings and the conversation that you can have. And then the guidebook, I do talk about the two biggest fear stories that most women have: perfectionism and people pleasing. I tell a little bit about my own story and how I dealt with it. And then I have a bunch of journal prompts. And I think there's there's one or two additional resources that they can go to, books that they can get from Amazon or their local bookstore. But yeah, that's what they get.
Wow, that's very generous. Because I think it's so important to, make friends with you. I like the term, by the way, the inner mean girl, because it's very mean, isn't it? My God.
It's very mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think if you learn, or when you learn to make friends with fear, because fear will be with you till the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
But once you
do something new, it's right there.
Yeah.
Or even when you're doing something that you always do, which is either write or paint or, I don't know, whatever it is that you're creating, fear is going to creep in and it's going to say something. I mean, like I said, I can't get through a new story or a new chapter, which with somebody in my head going, somebody's already written that.
Yeah.
I don't need to.
Yeah. I know, the other thing is, I know that because I'm teaching that we have something like 60,000 thoughts a day.
Yes.
Out of that, 95% is repetitive and 80% is negative.
Yes.
If the mind is untrained, and that's it, you're bombarded with, I can't do this, you're not good enough, who do you think you are, I may as well not bother starting, it's also hard,
Exactly.
And the mind just lies.
It does. It does. And so our job is to be mindful and begin to pay attention to what we're actually saying to ourselves.
And I think what a wonderful gift, because each time you notice the fear arriving or arising, you can actually go and click on the link and you have this 7-minute meditation and you'll feel much, much better. And you can actually really have an attempt to do what you previously were fearful of.
Yes.
And then, maybe 3 days later, you're fearful again. So you listen to it again. You've got it.
Exactly. It's fabulous. It's really good. Everybody who has it, who's listened to it already, my own students who I've done this work with in person and in, my yoga classes, they love it. They tell me that it's perfect. It's such a grounding and freeing meditation, and it's just a different perspective because we're told to ignore our fear. This isn't about ignoring it. It's about acknowledging it.
Yeah.
Because that's really what it wants. It wants to be acknowledged and paid attention to.
No, I totally agree, because I love the law of attraction. And I know that the more you push something away, the bigger it will get. And then it becomes like this huge monster.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all you women out there, because we've already established that fear is part and parcel of life. So I would strongly recommend, whenever, click on Peggy's link, download this meditation. You have so many other resources as well. And each time that you have fear coming up and you recognize it, just put on the video, the meditation. It will help you.
Right, or open up the guidebook and take one of the journal prompts.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So there are many different ways of helping yourself depending on, what you prefer.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for your generosity and also for your work, because I really believe it's so important, and women personally are very, very dear to my heart also, because what I see now, and you might see that as well, somehow, I don't know how it quite happened, but we have drawn the short straw because suddenly we attempt to do it all.
Yes.
We have the kids, we have the husband, we have the career, and we're doing it all. Like, what happened?
Exactly. Well, we got what we asked for, I guess.
Yeah. So I think it's great to become emancipated and to become equal, but now I think we have to somehow take our own time back.
Absolutely.
And not try and compete with the men.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I completely agree.
Okay, so thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And tell the readers again, is your blog radio on the link somewhere? Otherwise, would you like to tell?
You can find me on my website, peggynolan.com. You can find my podcast. If you have iTunes, it's on iTunes. It's Let Go Move Forward. But if you're using a different type of mobile device, if you have an Android device, you can find me on Stitcher. And you can also download the application for Podbean. Podbean is my host. But you can listen on those three. You can also listen to my podcast from my website, because I always have the 3 most recent podcasts on my website in a little widget. So I make sure that it's available everywhere.
Yeah. Because I think it's so important. Women love community. And I think it's so important to have the community of like-minded women that are, they do want to do something with their life. They do want to live soul-inspired. Yes. And it's a process. You will come up with what I call the stuff, the fear, the voice that says, who do you think you are? And I think being uplifted through a podcast, I think what better way of doing it, especially it won't cost you anything.
It doesn't cost you anything. Most of my episodes are between 10 and 15 minutes long. I have interviews that go for 30 to 40 minutes, but most of my podcasts are small bites, because I know that people have short attention spans.
Yes, and we're super busy.
Yes.
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 So thank you so very much for making that available to everybody here.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You too.
Take care.
Have a wonderful...
Lots of love.
Love.
Bye.